In this lesson, we'll learn how to insert, edit, and flatten the plans extracted from 3D Max in the last lesson. Now, the first thing I'd like to show you before you bring anything in, that there is sometimes a difference between units between your two different programs. So for example, in AutoCAD, I like to use millimeters because things are much more detailed, and in 3D Max, I use meters because I'm working on the building and things are a lot larger. So make sure that you have that set up correctly. Go to Format and Units and just check that your insertion scale is correct. Perhaps you're using feet, inches, one or both. Just make sure that that is set up the way you want it. Then when you imported the plan in, you could just go and open the file because it is a DWG and it will be recognized by AutoCAD. But instead of opening it and copy pasting it into this file, I'm going to use the insert block method. This is going to give me a little bit more power and flexibility because it gives me an insertion point, scale, and a rotation in case I need to edit any of these. So what I'm going to do here is find that extracted plans which we exported from the Max file in the last lesson. It's in the referenced file folder. So I'm going to double click on that and I'm just going to check explode on the bottom left, which is going to take that block and basically explode it into its separate lines and splines. So I'm not going to change any scale, but this is going to import everything in at the scale that I had just selected when we dropped down from that format menu. So I'm going to click on OK. Middle mouse button click twice, which is going to do zoom extents, and I'm now going to just review the file and make sure that everything is correct before I do any work. So first thing I like to do always is measure something, so DI enter on your keyboard, and I'm going to just measure this width, and you can see here that it's 50,000 units, which is 50,000 millimeters, therefore 50 meters, and I know that it's the correct size. Also, you can take note that the base point or the coordinate of 0, 0 is on that bottom left-hand corner of that plinth that we're busy working on. So everything is basically in the right place and at the right scale. And it's good to know that that is done correctly from the beginning because everything else is going to be off if your scale is off in the beginning. So just get that right as soon as you can in the process. So the next thing I'd like to show you is that if we click on a isometric view, or even if we rotate into a 3D view, you'll be able to see that certain things are still at different heights and a couple of things are doubled up. For example, we've got double geometry here, so I'm just going to go and delete some of the lines that are underneath that we don't need because we did the section tool and we then extracted out the polys from the top of this surface as well. So we basically have some things twice. Here this line was showing where we're busy cutting through. So I'm just going to delete all of that information that I don't need so that I only have the essential vital elements. This one here we can just reduce the amount of vertices, and there may still be one or two lines here like this one that we can manually go and delete. Then once we're happy that nothing is being doubled up, everything is correct, we can look back in our plan view, and in this view we're now going to use the flatten tool. So just type in flatten on your keyboard, you'll see that that pops up. Right click, you'll need to select all of the objects that are being flattened, right click again, and just make sure that you don't remove any hidden lines, otherwise it's going to process your entire drawing and basically redraw it, and it's not really what you want. So to keep the geometry accurate, just make sure that you are not removing hidden lines. So just right click there, and basically that is now complete. So if I look in my side view, you'll see that everything is flat. You can then rotate and just double check all of that. You can see that everything has been nicely flattened. So back in our plan view, we now have the base of what we can now start working on in terms of our plans. So the step beyond this would now be to start organizing your layers a little bit more, and we can do that by clicking the layer property manager here. And perhaps you had already gone and edited and organized your layers in 3D Max. If you had done so, then that's great. If not, you can go and add extra layers here. For example, I can add a context layer there, and perhaps I want to add a floors. I can add a separate layer for above, and then another layer for structure. Each one of those can have its own color depending on what the line thickness should be. And I'm going to have a look at how or at least show you how those line thicknesses are going to basically play on how your printout is going to look later on. So join me in the next lesson when I discuss all of the plot styles and line thicknesses, and we're basically going to use that information once we've set it up to then go and relayer and recolor all of these elements and add line type and line color, line thickness, and so forth to basically set up this geometry for this plan. So all of that's going to happen in the next lesson.